Welcome back. Today we're making Italian macarons. To start, we're going to sift together 106 grams of almond meal and 106 grams of powdered sugar. I usually push through the last little bits to try to get all of it in there and to make sure that I don't have a lot of almond meal left over in my sifter, or else I can throw off the consistency of our batter. Now, one of the trademark characteristics of an Italian macaron is adding in our egg whites and creating kind of a paste with our dry ingredients. So I've added in 45 grams of egg whites and I'm going to mix until it's fully combined. Next, I'm going to wipe off my whisk attachment and my bowl with a bit of vinegar or lemon juice to make sure there's no traces of grease. Now, before we whip up our egg whites, we're going to work on our sugar syrup. So I'm going to set my digital thermometer to 235 degrees and I'm going to bring 80 grams of water and 118 grams of granulated sugar to a boil. Once it begins to boil, I'm going to whip up my remaining 45 grams of eggs on a medium speed until soft peaks form. Then I'm going to mix in 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar just to help stabilize our egg whites. As they continue to mix, they should have soft peaks, and at that point in time, once your sugar syrup reaches 235 degrees, you want to pour it in a slow, thin stream into your egg whites. You then want to turn the speed up to high and mix until stiff, glossy peaks form. During this process, you also want to add in your gel food coloring if you want to color your macarons. As your meringue mixes, you want to make sure that in the end it has stiff peaks, but there should be a slight bend at the tip of your whisk when you pull it up, as you can see here. At this point, it's time to incorporate our meringue into our paste that we made earlier. As you can see, your paste is going to be really thick and sticky just like before, so just take your time mixing this, and it's okay if you do feel like you're deflating your meringue a bit, and this is why we add our meringue in 3 additions, because it helps prevent us from completely deflating it while slowly incorporating it into that sticky paste. So you can see after our first addition is quite thick, and in our next addition we're going to focus a lot more on folding in that meringue by sweeping around the bowl and then through the center. This is going to help incorporate the ingredients together without totally deflating our meringue. And now I'm adding in my final bit of meringue in my 3rd addition. You can see the batter is thick, but a lot easier to work with now. So it should feel like it has a bit of resistance when you're stirring it because you're after this lava-like consistency, which I never really understood what it meant. The best way to tell if your batter is the right consistency is to do this kind of lift test, where you take some batter on your spatula, you lift it up, and you see what it looks like as it flows off. So there you could see my batter was a tiny bit thick. I could barely shape it into a figure 8 on top of my other batter. So I stirred it a bit more, and now you can see it's flowing off a bit more easily, but it's still nice and thick. So this is the consistency you're after. Thick ribbons flowing off of your spatula. Not too thin, it still takes some time to run off, but it's workable. This is going to be the perfect consistency for piping, and it's also going to prevent our cookies from spreading too much as they're baked. So you can see I'm using a small piping tip here and a silicone mat. And as you're piping, you want to make sure you're piping perpendicular to your mat and that your macarons are equal in size so that they all bake up nicely and aren't under or over baked. Then you want to bang your pan against your counter, which seems aggressive, but it helps all these little air bubbles that might be trapped come to the surface, and you then can pop them with a toothpick before letting your macarons rest. I rest them for 30 minutes, then bake them in a preheated 325-degree oven for 12 to 14 minutes based on piping them about 1¼ inches across in diameter. While my macarons rest, then bake and cool, I work on my ganache filling, which is really just 1/4 cup of dark chocolate and 1/4 cup of heavy cream. Once the mixture is combined, I place it into a small piping bag and then pipe a dab onto each of my macaron shells and sandwich them together to create these beautiful little cookies. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully, I'll see you guys again soon.